Thank you, everyone. It's really an honor and a pleasure to be here. I have several colleagues in Brazil that have come to Florence School of Regulation and are really always praise what they learn here. So it's really, for me, a very special moment to be here and being awarded with a prize. It's really nothing that I really counted on. I'm very thankful for people who voted for me, and I wasn't really asking for the votes, so it was really something astonishing for me. And then it's really a prize about legacy, and I am 47 years old, and I think, am I already able to talk about a legacy in my age? And then, besides what I really have done, working 18 years as advisor to more than 12 ministers of energy, pushing the reform of the regulatory the regulatory reform for the electric sector in Brazil, but also designing our national hydrogen project, putting hydrogen in the energy policy agenda in Brazil. I think more about like a personal legacy, because when we talk about women, when we enter the sector, we come with our expertise. I really have a bachelor's in economics and master's in energy, and I started very early working as an advisor to a minister. By coincidence, we had recently approved the reform of the power sector in the beginning of the years 2000. And I ended up at this advisory office of the minister, knowing really just the academical part of the sector. And it was really a privilege to be there in this moment and to be able to contribute. But then when we see how our careers progress, I was always seeing my colleagues, the male ones, being asked for new positions, becoming regulators, becoming secretaries, and I was always the advisor to the minister, and I stayed there for 18 years as advisors to several ministers. So maybe like 10 years after that, when I was really happy where I always already was, knowing the technicities of everything, of the power sector, of the energy sector, of the bill writings and those things. And I didn't see how to make my career progress. And I took all these leadership courses, communication courses, negotiation courses. And I was looking for skills that could enhance what I was supposed to know. And then once in 2017, I took like a leadership course for women. And this really opened my mind that maybe we should start thinking about female careers in a different way, because when we come from being the best students, the best, I don't know, learners in the office, very committed, maybe we don't see other skills and other things that we should be doing. So this was like a first insight. And moving forward, then I took another course in Harvard about female leadership. And when I went back to Brazil, as this was sponsored by our government school, we had to apply this in what we were doing. But I didn't work with gender, I worked with energy. So another colleague of mine, who became a very close friend of mine, we worked together at the ministry, we decided to come up with a list of competent women that could be appointed for important positions in the government, because a presidential election was coming. And we had once a president that nominated only male ministers, male CEOs to the state-controlled companies. And he said that he didn't come up with any female names because there were no competent women. So we thought that this discourse cannot exist. We have to have the names, and if somebody chooses to have the man, it's okay, but this discourse cannot exist. And it's like Rosalind said, we have to shape the discourse. So we started doing the list ourselves, trying to interview several authorities in our industry, but we worked with energy, not with gender. We didn't have really the means to do all these interviews. So we wrote like an article on LinkedIn and asked our networks to help us shape this list. And this is where it started. So our movement, we say like it's like a virtual grassroots movement. It's called Yes, They Exist, because yes, competent women exist. And we came with this list and we sent it to both of the parties that were running the second turn in the elections, presidential elections. And we did this twice already, and now, yesterday, I was already here, we launched the list again for the next coming election. And everybody is free to apply, or people are really free to send their names, and we just checked that the women have what it takes, according to the legislation, to be able to be nominated for this position. But then, when I think about my legacy, it's not really the list, it's really putting the discussion or the preoccupation first about female careers in the energy sector, on the public discourse, people starting to discuss this. And also the participation of women in these male-dominated sectors, which was not natural. So when we were designing the first list, my boss, who was also a woman, she became, after the list, she became the deputy minister, but she came to me and said, oh, Agnes, please pay attention. Maybe people will get you wrong and you will be discriminated afterwards because you are doing this. And I told her, who will have something against or anything against a list that talks about competent women? Because you have to make like these stupid questions, but this is something that we learned in Harvard. Sometimes you have difficult subjects and you have always to try to address this through a positive lens, not really complaining that women are missing, but showing where these women are. And then I think that the Lights on Women is a really good initiative in the same sense. So this is how it started, and then we started discussing more about women in leadership position and women trajectory. So through this initiative, we have already designed like mentoring programs for young professionals entering this sector. Because what I feel from my experience is that sometimes you get tired when you reach this glass ceiling, that you don't move forward, and then you think, although you have learned so much and you are so specialized, that's best to do something else. As I am a public servant and work with public policy, I always thought maybe I will go to the environmental ministry. It's like really gaining in scope of energy, but it didn't make sense. And when I think about taxpayers that have invested so much in me, in what I've learned, that I'm really an energy specialist, it doesn't make any sense. So it's really talking about this. And as you mentioned then afterwards, it started like a preoccupation about women careers, but then it's really mainstreaming this into regulations and legislations and policies. Because it's not really something that matters only to the women that want to stay contributing to the energy sector, but it's also women, they are also agents of choices, agents of changes, and when we see like energy, climate change, and affecting vulnerable women, and in Brazil we have, for example, I was looking to the numbers today, almost 17% of the families in Brazil are single parent-led, and of these, 87 are women. So there's one woman taking care of children, and when the women are not participating in the discussion, there is a strong risk that we miss a lot about things that are important for these women. So these are thoughts that we are pushing into the agenda now, mainstreaming, and it was really a luck in Brazil to be able also to contribute to the presidency of Brazil in G20 before COP30 last year, so it was 2024, where we really pushed the agenda forward, discussing a just energy transition that is also inclusive. So it's really thinking about using this movement, and not only the movement, but the economic effort that we are doing decarbonizing economies to reduce inequalities. So, and then I come back to where I started, because when I decided to study economics, it was really about reducing inequalities in Brazil. And I think when we come from developing countries, different than my colleague. I come from a very privileged background. Somehow we are really a middle class family. My mother was a teacher, but my father is from India. I have French grandparents, Brazilian grandparents, and I went to a German school. So it's really something that is very different. And when we think that, when I think that I can use this to help the country progress, use these other perspectives to give insights to new ideas, new solutions, I think it's really a privilege for me, but it's also a responsibility that I have with my country. So thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be here, and count on me on the initiatives. I'm very pleased to help.